Okay, everybody, I hope that you will listen to Johnny's advice and tune in to withoutyourhead.com.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I am Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
Yes, and we're joined by director Benjamin Roberds of A Plague So Pleasant.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
And also, thank you for adding me on Facebook this morning. It was really interesting to have someone add me, and then I see that I'm in their cover photo.
Yes.
So, it took me a moment because I accepted your friend request, and then I saw, wait, that's a picture of me.
Neil goes to real extremes to make friends around Facebook.
Yes, I've done that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. And I hope you didn't think it was like, oh man, this guy's like some kind of stalker or something.
That was my first thought, and then I thought, oh, Without Your Head podcast. Oh, cool. This is Neil. Nice.
And then he was disappointed, like, God damn it, stalker.
Yeah, luckily, we haven't had any of those yet with the film. But we have been seeing a lot of success from it. I'm glad to have it be circulating around.
Yeah, Neil and I know I am, and I think I can speak for Neil to say that we're not really hip on a lot of the zombie stuff anymore.
Cool.
It's been done a lot. I'm sure you're aware, but you did really well. And
thank you.
And the budget you were saying is like crazy and expensive comparatively. Where people are usually like, well, you can't spend any less than like $20,000 to start, and then any normal person in the world's like, well, no, I can never do that.
Basically, it was $3,000 over 2 years. Because basically, myself and my co-director Jordan St. Martin Reyes, basically we were just tired of waiting tables and working service industry jobs, and we were probably like I think 22 at the time, and so we just said, screw it, we'll quit our jobs and we'll eat ramen, and we'll just make this movie. Basically, I wrote the script, showed it to Jordan, and he said, okay, cool, let's do it. And we hit it hard right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Also, I guess I'll explain to the audience, A Plague So Pleasant is a zombie movie that takes place after the apocalypse has happened, maybe a year after. And it takes place in a time where humans have realized that the zombies only attack when provoked. So basically, it starts off as this dreary film of just almost these walking tombstones of people's loved ones that just walk around amongst them. It's like if someone dies and then they just stumble around for eternity. And then it's people trying to figure that out.
Well, it's weird because it starts out confusing. You've got the dialogue between these two guys live together, and that's really odd. And then it's kind of funny when the guy goes outside and you see what's happening. But then it does start to, when you've got the part with the sister, it's like, well, yeah, that kind of seems funny too at first. It's like, that would really suck if that happened. You could totally see someone doing something like that.
True, yeah, because in the film, his sister basically has lost her boyfriend of many years, and she visits him every day like they're still dating. I actually haven't seen that movie. What is it, Warm Bodies? But I think it came out.
Yeah, I didn't.
I know there was a similar thing with that, and actually I think we finished the movie around the time that was coming out as well. So it was a big time for zombie films, and with The Walking Dead and all that. There are so many zombie films out there. So thank you so much for watching A Plague So Pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we didn't see Warm Bodies. We thought it looked like shit. So.
Yeah. That one I believe actually love like saves you from zombieism or cures zombieism, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Their heart starts to get like all glowy and
it's like a touching kind of thing.
Romance, yeah. Screw that.
So when you guys decided to make a horror movie, had you always known that you were going to go for a zombie movie?
No, it just felt right. I've always been a big zombie fan, and Jordan and I, we played a lot of Resident Evil. So, because video games these days are just as cinematic as movies, and so it was just, we had somewhat of an obsession with zombie movies, and I think this kind of cured it, honestly. Because having blood stains in your car for 2 years and just coming home with blood on your hands, eventually you're just kind of, you found peace with gore. My parents and my grandparents, they were even zombies in the film. I have a nice family photo on my windowsill of them made up to look like they have bullet wounds in their face. So I'm satiated with zombie movies now. I think I've spent 2 years, and I think we can actually move on.
Yeah. So
I was actually really happy when the door opened and you see like these older zombies. I'm like, you know what? There's like really normal looking people zombies out here. It's not usually it's a certain age and a certain size, and they're mostly probably just people who are actual extras looking for work, so they all look a certain way. But no, they were great.
That was actually my mother, father, and grandmother. I made sure they were the first few in the movie. They actually drove into town to be a part of it.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
Now, I've told the story a million times on the show. My mom always took me to see horror movies at the drive-in, and I think the one I really remember seeing first is Night of the Living Dead when I was 6. So were your parents always supportive of you making horror movies, and were they always did they always allow you to watch horror movies?
Yeah, basically they slowly let me watch horror movies, and I definitely snuck them in, smuggled them, and that's a big fun part of seeing horror movies as a kid, especially when you're not supposed to watch them, which and then I'd have terrible nightmares. But what really created just my filmmaking, drive was my dad had a camera. He got a camera when I was about 8 years old. And I asked to use it, and he said, well, you have to write a script, and I have to approve it for you to rent the camera for a day. And so I wrote a script at 8 years old. He looked it over, and he said, okay, this looks good. Here's the camera. Have it back to me by the night. And he even helped me with the stuff, and, I went around and shot stuff. And, that made me realize, like, oh, this isn't just playing. This is something kind of more important. And then at 11 years old, met Jordan St. Martin Reyes, and I said, hey, we should make movies together. And we both had all these movie ideas. And so ever since then, been making movies together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Why was your dad so, serious about it? Was he trying to get you to not use the camera, or did he genuinely believe, here's an avenue for my son?
I'm not sure. I should probably ask him about that.
Never going to make this script. Forget about it. You're not using my camera.
He wanted him to appreciate it, maybe. Appreciate that using the camera wasn't, like you said, it wasn't just a toy. It was something.
Oh, yeah, but you could have someone be like, no. But then you find a creative way to get the kid to not be able to use it. Like, no, your script sucks. Or you didn't do it. Yeah. But your dad sounds like a cool guy who didn't
he's awesome.
You in the mind by making you make a script that you would fail at.
Yeah, because it's I understand his concern, because this was mini DV little camera, one of those high 8 tapes, digital tapes or whatever they were, and so it was a very expensive buy at that point, and then as soon as he got it, I was like, I want it. So it made it a much more organized process, other than me just probably, jumping into a creek with it or something.
You mentioned Jordan Reyes a couple times here, and he's a cinematographer for the movie as well, and it really is shot beautifully. There's some great shots, especially some ones from the distance, and it's just it's a great looking movie.
I have a question about that, because it's not only is it look really good, obviously, especially for the budget, but there's a lot of not a lot, but there's a few color changes where it's black and white, and then you've got the zombies start running, and then it's full color. I just thought, even at first, I didn't even notice that transition. I just
Oh,
didn't even
wow.
realize it was there. And then I caught it not far in, but they start running towards this person in this field, and then there's a fence, and it was right around then. I'm like, what? This is color now. What just happened? And so I went back and watched that part again, and then I really paid attention to it for the rest of the film. So that was interesting, the back and forth.
We really tried hard to make that transition so subtle that you kind of feel like you don't even notice it. It just creeps up on you. Because that shoot was, that was a full day getting all those zombies to run down the hillside. And in Athens, Georgia, we're lucky to have that many willing extras. Because it was a crazy day of, we shot on a dairy farm, and we had to transport them across the field in a truck, back and forth and back and forth. And then Tyler Carver, the makeup artist, she was 16 at the time.
Wow.
And she did every single zombie in that movie, and she taught herself on YouTube. It was really amazing. And Jordan did fantastic with the cinematography. It was basically he and we'd pass back and forth the camera and try to figure out the best way to line up shots. Most of our shot lists were just scribbled notes. Not really, if we handed it to if we had PAs, which we did, we had a few PAs that helped out on set and held the boom. But they couldn't read our notes even because it was just a bunch of scribblings. There was no real organization. It was a very organic process.
I gotta say right now that from what I'm seeing, Georgia is becoming like the little horror capital of America. There's a lot of people that are working in horror down there, independent people.
Yeah, the Walking Dead has been a big process. Has basically been centered around Georgia. So where every day you're hearing about. I'm talking to people and they said, "Oh yeah, I was a zombie in The Walking Dead." It's becoming very common in Georgia. Just to where it is becoming a big horror capital. I think Dragon Con may be this weekend too.
Oh wow! I've heard that's like a city when you go.
It's amazing. In 2013, Jordan and I went because Plagues of Pleasant was entered into the film festival and was nominated for best film there. And so we got free passes, so it was really fun. we hadn't been there since we were I think maybe 14, so it was good to go back. It really is just a wonderful basically nerds take over the city, and we're totally for that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to go. I've heard about that for years and years, and I haven't gone yet.
Well, it's such a trek because it's you got to get a hotel room, and they book. I think they book up instantly. We stayed with a friend during the process. And
we do a bunch of other horror stuff throughout the year, but Dragon Con is not strictly horror. But I'm sure down the road we're gonna have to make that jump because it's just so much stuff, and there's such a reputation. But yeah, there's a lot of more and more independent people are down there doing things. I know a woman, Blair Richardson, she just moved down there and she's doing a miniseries, and there's a few directors that have got crews down there. It's a good place to be, I think, especially if you're starting out and doing really well. It's a good place to do some networking.
Yeah, here in Athens, there's a woman, Danielle Robards Rusk. Her husband actually is the stunt coordinator for The Walking Dead, and she's started an organization called Film Athens, where she just tries to make Athens, Georgia, a film location. And so that really helped us through this whole process because they have these happy hour filmmaker meetups, and you can just meet all kinds of people who are willing to say, "Hey, what are you doing? I want to be a part of it. I want to learn some stuff, or I want to teach you some stuff."
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good film community down here.
Yeah. Nope.
So why don't you talk a little bit more about that process? I mean, $2,000, how did you make that happen? I know you've got a bunch of volunteers, but how did you go about getting this whole thing off the ground?
Well, I was working at the International House of Pancakes, And
Fine
basically,
establishment that Neil and I frequent
Yes.
for the
cool.
midnight movies when we meet up and Neil can't catch a bus until 6 a.m. That's where we're at.
That's the place to go. And Jordan and I had both. Jordan wasn't working there at the time, but he had worked there for quite a while. I was still working there, and basically one of my tables, I became a regular. It was an older gentleman, and he was a retired professor, so I'd sit down and talk with him. And then one day his nephew came in and basically said, "Hey, you're good friends with my uncle. What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I make movies on the side. My friend Jordan and I would make short films." And he said, "Hey, you want to do a feature at any point?" And I said, "That's actually what we've been talking about." And he said, "What do you need to get started?" I said, "Well, we need an anamorphic lens for the DVX 100. And he said, "Okay, I'll write you a check." And John Patterson became the executive producer of the film. And then we met, basically somebody gave us money for the first time. So it was like, holy shit, let's do it.
You weren't even seeking it out. That's incredible.
So we basically just kind of figured it out as we went along. We just quit our jobs. We started making the movie. And then the paper wrote about us, and we weren't expecting to get that many extras that day because the paper mentioned a shoot that was coming up. And then we had like 30 zombies show up, and Tyler alone just has this long line of people to splatter Jell-O and liquid latex onto, and then basically we had an assembly line where she'd fix up cuts, and then one person would splatter on the blood. And we just got all those zombies together, and one of those zombies happened to be Rick LaFleur, who wanted to be an executive producer as well, and then he helped us through that process to get us some more money to keep the project going. And then 2 years later, we finally got it all together because, I think about maybe 6 months in, or maybe a little more than that, we did have to start having part-time jobs just to get through the editing process. And then we had a lot of reshoots because we consistently changed what the zombies look like, because Tyler got better as time went on. And so for some of the scenes with Jerry in the field where it first reveals him, that was actually the second time we shot that. Because the first time we just kind of covered them in mud and blood. And we realized, well, this is the first time you see this character. We should probably reshoot that so he looks like Tyler's best makeup, which I think her crowning achievement was the eyeless zombie in that one scene. Like, I guess 2/3 into the film.
Yeah, that's a real weird looking zombie, but it's cool because you can see, that the eye area is weird, but it seems like it works. It's very monstrous.
Yeah, it's basically he just closed his eyes, and well, first it was she put on all this black makeup, and then she put on, I believe it was some kind of other material. And then on top of that, whatever that material was, it was liquid latex. And then she tore it open and poured blood in his eyes. And then,
wow.
So it was just this dripping mess that looked so grotesque.
Yeah. Now you're both shambling and fast zombies in this movie, and that's always a debate among zombie fans, which is better, the shambling or the fast, the running zombies. So I thought it was cool that you actually have both in the movie. And which one is your personal favorite?
Well, that's the thing. I guess growing up, I was very skeptical of the running zombies because I think there were a few films that came out that had running zombies, and it was just kind of like they didn't do it right. And because, being a fan of the Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, I was like, zombies aren't supposed to run. It just comes off cheesy. And then what was it, 2004, the remake of Dawn of the Dead came out? And I thought, wow, they actually did that really good, Zack Snyder. And I was just really impressed with that. And so I think this A Place So Pleasant kind of chronicles that point from, 1960s Night of the Living Dead, black and white, to how the genre changed in 2004 to where running zombies actually could be a viable, scary thing. And now you
And
see tons of running zombies.
And that is really cool because that color transition really puts that point home. Where here you've got this black and white classic vibe, and then you've got, oh shit, this is what we have now.
Yeah, it's just like Wizard of Oz.
True.
Exactly. Here's the magic.
Very bloody Wizard of Oz.
Yes. Now, the parts with the zombies, when the people don't want to kill them and everything, is that any of that satire for political correctness, or am I just reading into it?
That's the thing. So many people have said it's a like somebody came up to me afterwards and said, "Wow, you nailed it. You made a movie about gun control that completely like just nails a political statement." And I said, "Glad you saw into that." Exactly, because no, there's really no meaning behind it other than that change in the genre. That's really what I thought about when writing it. And then a lot of people do take these political cues from it, and they get something out of it that means something personal to them. And so every time somebody says it, except for this instance, it really is totally up to debate what it means. Because I guess I didn't think into any kind of political agenda when writing it. It's just I more was focused on the change in the genre, but I love that people get that out.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would make me proud that people would read things in there that you didn't see yourself or didn't mean to be there. I think that's a mark of true art, people reading what they want to see into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad it can speak to people and reaffirm whatever their beliefs may be, political or just whatever they see into it. Because I want people to enjoy the film and leave the theater feeling like, yeah, that did say something, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Now, this might be an odd comment, but when I was watching the movie, like I really loved, I liked the pace of it, and I liked the idea behind it, and I knew at some point like it's going to become kind of more action, and I was in a way not looking forward to that because I'm like, oh, then it's supposed to be a regular zombie movie, but it doesn't. You do a great job with the action too, and since you wrote such an original story, was that hard to do at some point? Like, well, now we want to have the action in it too, and it's kind of different from what you were writing up to that point.
Well, the funny thing is, basically the scripts that I handed to Jordan, and Jordan said, "Yeah, let's do it." And he instantly he sold a lot of the stuff, and we we hit it hard. It was basically the first half of the movie was written, and then the end of the movie was written. And then basically that whole entire action scene in the script, it just says, a chase scene ensues. So, because we had no idea what our resources were.
Yeah.
Literally, we just hit the streets, passed around like, hey, can we use this property? Can we use this property? This place looks cool. Can we use this? And so we had to basically, we knew, Jordan and I talked about it, and we wanted something crazy to happen with David jumping through the window, which was an insane day. Rick LaFleur helped fund getting that tempered glass that David Chandler ran through. And David Chandler, he is a super actor because you see him scale that fence and it looks like he twisted his ankle. Luckily he did martial arts tournaments when he was younger, and so he is very fit.
So and he is like ninja.
Yeah, he's very ninja-like. And he was just a friend of basically Jordan met him on Craigslist looking for a roommate, and so David Chandler was Jordan's roommate at the time, and we're still great friends. And David has continued to be in our short films throughout time. And basically, David, every day, for continuity, we pour the blood all over him, and he just run back and forth. It was literally like football training or something, just sprinting, like, okay, let's go again. Because, I mean, for a lot of those scenes, he's running up and down alleyways, and there's so much footage of him running that we didn't use because we couldn't tie it into a cohesive story. Because that whole chase scene was really organically made. We knew we wanted him to jump through a window and then it not be like, because even in a recent film, one of the most recent Mission Impossible, they're still doing that thing where the main character jumps through the window and he has like a few scratches. He'd be extremely bloody. And so we kind of wanted it to be, he does something really action-packed and it's very real, the consequences of it.
Yeah.
The consequences were real even for the tempered glass, because he had a piece of glass in his butt for a year after that. It was just
what?
Because he jumped through the tempered glass and onto a trampoline, and we failed to realize that the trampoline cushioned his fall, but then he fell back onto the glass. So he did have a lot of cuts, and he was a trooper. We mentioned a stunt double, and he said, no, I want to do it.
I've heard that from wrestling people I've interviewed. Is even if you get breakaway glass or whatever, it's still always dangerous. That and fire you can never totally control.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. You could put that up on eBay though. The piece of glass that was removed from.
True, I should see if he kept it.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't? This is my ass glass.
Vintage ass glass from a zombie movie.
Yeah. Just hold on to it until you guys are big, and then that's when you put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
True.
You mentioned, you mentioned short.
Don't be too hasty to sell that ass glass.
You gotta sit on it for a while. But you mentioned short films. Are we able to see those anywhere?
Yeah, you can see some short films at dominarfilms.com. Jory and I have made some more short films since then, and we've made some music videos as well. We've just been branching out and seeing what direction we want to go in film. I've always wanted to make more features. Have some scripts I've been working on, and so hopefully in the next 3 years I might pursue one of those. But as for now, just trying to learn more, I still look back at A Plague So Pleasant and think, oh God, I would have done it this way, if only if I had known. Because now we're working with, bigger equipment, bigger sets, bigger budgets, and it's a lot more. Every day we learn something new.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you screened the movie at festivals or anything?
What was it, DragonCon, right?
We showed it at DragonCon, and we also we had a huge premiere with all the cast and all of our friends and family right after we finished it. Literally, I think it was 2 days before we finished it, because it was Cine in Athens, Georgia. They were really nice to let us have a screening there. Mm-hmm. And literally, we packed the place. Every seat was filled. People were standing in the back. Every single along the stairwells on the sides of the seats, those became seating. And it was really surreal just to see 2 years of our lives pack a theater, and the theater lost it at the end. So it was definitely one of the best days of my life. So that was a really good screening, and I'd love to talk to Wild Eye about maybe putting some screenings together. Mm-hmm. Their distribution, and they've been wonderful through this whole process.
Was that nerve-wracking before the screening, knowing that people or anybody's going to come and see your movie for the first time?
No, it wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous about people not liking it. I was most nervous about the speech I was going to do beforehand, I think. And it was just kind of whatever it is, it's ours. And I think it turned out great. Basically, that movie was our film school. Everything we've done since then, we've used A Plague So Pleasant to as a reference of, oh, okay, well, this is how we did it in A Plague So Pleasant. How do we do it now? And I mean, we're so flattered that people just love the movie. It being a $3,000 movie, and it being kind of a learning process for us because neither one of us went to film school. So it's I mean, what I said that night to the audience was, this isn't just a movie, it's more like a home movie, because it's full of all my friends, my family, and people that have, helped us make this. I mean, you see a lot of bloody people in that movie that are trying to rip David apart, but they're all the kindest people you could ever meet. So, I mean, there's like a huge story there that's just comprised into like, a feature-length film. And it's I'm really happy that a lot of people are going to be able to see it now.
Do you think that contributes at all? Because you've said this movie's been received so well, and a lot of it is kind of just, I hate to say it, but some of it is regular zombie movie stuff where it's just someone running around trying to survive, but it really works, and there's something different about it. Do you have an idea of why it's so different and why people respond to it so well?
Well, I mean, I think we set out to make something extremely different, because I mean the script, we tried to make a movie that was contrary to people's expectations for a zombie film. Because I mean it in a lot of shots, for instance, the final shot, it looks like some kind of art film. And we really wanted that kind of art film quality to a zombie movie, where there's like it's not so much that the plot even matters, it's more of an art piece of just what this genre could become. And I think since then, there have been zombie movies that have tried every different outlet, and they're going to continue to. It's a genre that's never going to go away. So I mean, it's. I think we tried to make it unique, and people pick up on that.
We see a lot of screeners, and honestly, a lot of them are very forgettable and not particularly good, but when you do see something like this, it really stands out, and I think a lot of it, too, is you say it's unique, and you can tell that you really loved making it, and it seems like everyone who was part of it loved making it, and I always think you can kind of feel that in a lot of movies, like the heart that was involved in making it.
I think it does show in the movie that everyone enjoyed making it, because there are a lot of movies where people are sometimes, if they're underpaid or something, can show in the film. Like, I think there is like an energy that comes through the camera, and you can just kind of see that, I mean, everybody in that film, they gave it their all because they weren't being paid. I mean, they just wanted to make a zombie movie. We wanted to make a zombie movie, and everyone, I mean, their motives weren't to just like, okay, well, I need to be a zombie today because it's my job. I'll probably be a different extra tomorrow. Their honestly, their goals were make an awesome movie, and every single person in the credits, they tried just as hard as we did.
Do you see, or what do you predict for future filmmaking? Because if you keep growing, then you probably will get to the point where you're going to start putting out money and maybe will hire those extras. Is that a little concerning for you? If we start doing that, then what are we going to have to manage if people don't feel in it 100%? Or is that going to be sort of a standard, is if someone is not really, really, really just totally buying into the project just for the project's sake, even if you pay them?
True, because I mean, we have started paying people when we can afford it, and I mean, it's basically we've done a lot of music videos, and that's very different from our short films, because our short films we've done a lot for the 24-hour film fest in town, where it's just like we have 24 hours to make a movie, and we knock it out really quick, and it feels like a place to play again. But I mean, we're completely aware of the fact that professionalism is something that you kind of gotta ease into, because we feel very professional now, because we've been paid to make music videos, and it does kind of change the game. It's not all specifically for fun. It is like, this puts food on the table.
Yeah.
And, I mean, in some cases we have to tweak the art to, like, go more in the client's direction than the vision that we had. And I mean, it's I guess when I was younger, I thought, I want to be a director. I'll be Ben as a director. But it's more like, if you want to become a director, everything's got to change. You become a different person. Mm-hmm. In the end, you think about things differently, and you think about, you have so many things on your mind just working in a professional atmosphere. So, I mean, everything's going to change in the execution, but I mean, still, I work with people I love, and, it all, at the end of the day, everybody's excited. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. You mentioned a few different zombie films that you liked. What are some of your personal favorite zombie movies?
Well, I mean, yeah, as I said, definitely the Dawn of the Dead remake. For whatever reason, that really stuck with me. Because it really nailed a lot of things in a zombie movie that you've never seen before. Like that whole opening sequence, it's just really well paced. Even like the Foley in that, like the woman, she runs into the bathroom, and if you watch that without sound, it doesn't look that painful. But if she falls into the tub, and it sounds like she busts her head open, and then she jumps out a window, and then she gets into a car, and the guy chases them down the street. That's definitely, like, I feel like when I saw that film, I felt the same way that I did when I saw Night of the Living Dead, and that really resonated with me. And I really liked the Walking Dead comics. Those were great. Mm-hmm. At some point, I think I quit reading them around the 14th volume or something around there. But those were really enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And also the Resident Evil series. Really cool what they did with that.
Yeah. How do you compare the Walking Dead comic book to the TV show?
I mean, I think I've always liked the comic books more. Mm-hmm. Just because, I don't know, there are little aspects to them that are a little bit more cinematic than the show, if that makes any sense.
I agree.
It's just there's just the way that it's written, some of those lines hit home a little more. And then maybe I would love the show more if I had watched the show first and then read the comics afterwards.
Yeah.
So I may honestly be biased.
No, I agree with that, because it's hard to live up to something that you're so into. Same thing with people. I always think about The Shining. I always know it always seems that people who don't like the Shining movie really love the book before they read it, before they saw the movie, and people really like the Shining movie didn't read the book till after they saw the movie.
True, because wasn't there like a made-for-TV Shining version that was more true to the book?
Yeah, and I thought it was.
But it had the guy from Wings, and that just ended it.
Yeah. Was that any good?
I was not a fan, but I know like my brother really liked it because he things like, they use a croquet mallet instead of an axe, and I'm like, well,
which is cool because that is the film, but I think it's just a different caliber of film itself. Mm-hmm. The production value is different.
Yeah.
So that to me takes away from, unfortunately, it's how it is. It's a balance of different things that make a movie good. So even though the original film might not be true to the story in full, you've got just such ace acting, and it's a Stanley Kubrick film. That's going to stand out. So it might actually be kind of like the opposite effect, where if you read the book first, you're not going to like the movie, and you like that movie first. It's so stellar that when you watch the movie, it's like, why did you bother?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's because definitely Stanley Kubrick is a really hard, like, he sets the bar. So I've always been a Kubrick fan. So I mean, I heard that even Stephen King, I may be wrong about this, but I want to say he liked the television version more.
Yeah, he kind of like hates the Kubrick.
Yeah, he
one.
really hates the Kubrick.
He loathes it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
See, we should have him on the show, Neil, and then he could like rant. That would be the best.
Sure.
And Troy could be on his side. He so would come on.
No, Stephen King, if you're listening, you have an open invite to come on Without Your Head. So
Stephen King, I urge you to do so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support. Can you write him for us and be like, I think he would be a prime nominee for Without Your Head?
Then it would definitely push it over the top. Now, the DVD comes out September 29th, I believe.
It does. You can get it on Amazon, and right now they're working out where you can purchase it in person. I know they're looking for some avenues nationwide and internationally as well. I think you can even pre-order it now, and so that as soon as it releases, it'll ship out to you.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with? Well, I'm sure you would be. What kind of extras are on the DVD?
I'm actually not sure yet. We gave them some content, and we'll see. They've been putting that all together for us, and Wild Eye has been great. They've made the whole process really easy. I'm excited to get a copy of the DVD as soon as it comes out as well. I'm gonna give it to all my friends and family. And
how did that come about? Going from making your own movie, having it screened at some conventions, to having it distributed on DVD.
That was amazing. Jordan really pushed that. He worked at Vision Video, and so he had a lot of he knew a lot of the distributors just through what would come in. And he could see, okay, these are these distributors. And so by working at one of the few video stores that are left, he used that knowledge and got in touch with Wild Eye, and Wild Eye loved it. So they said, yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll put it out for you. And we're so happy to have people seeing it all around the world.
Yeah. And I just looked those up. They're a fairly new company, so that it's really cool to be working with a newer director and a newer company that puts out DVDs.
True, and they've even put out some VHSs too.
Wow.
It looks like
that's kind of making a comeback. People getting stuff on VHS.
It's the records of our time.
It is.
True. Because they have these great, like for some of their films, they do these great like vintage like art pieces that like draw all the characters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had these VHS releasings where I think they have like there's President Wolfman, I believe that's the title, and it's like the VHS is like furry. It's like covered in fur. So
makes you think of Moss.
I love being involved with a distributor that's extremely creative.
Yeah.
It really is just couldn't ask for more.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking at their at the releases. They have a bunch of VHS ones right on their website, wildeyeReleasing.com.
Yeah, and they have I think it's called Swamp Head. It's like a movie about a swamp creature monster, but it's only a head. So
Nice.
they really look for the most unique movies to put on their website.
Uh-huh.
And
awesome.
And they all have this really just nostalgic vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we're
really happy.
We have the Disco Exorcist, which I believe actually Annabelle and I saw part of when we were in Atlanta.
Did we?
I have not seen that one yet.
Yeah, I think it was shown in the backyard there at the when we were.
Oh yeah, at James Bickard's house.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's another thing about working in film. You quickly realize how small of a world it is.
Yeah.
I see it now, President Wolfman, limited edition furry VHS. Makes me think of maybe I'm dating myself here, but the Moss Man figure from the He-Man figure when I was a kid. He was covered.
Oh, okay, cool.
I probably am dating myself.
He had like a furry coat or something?
He had fur. He had like all over his whole body. He had like moss, and he also smelled.
Wow.
He also smelled like moss.
Gross.
Then they had the skunk.
Authentic.
Then they had the skunk. He didn't have fur, but he smelled like he was supposed to smell bad. He really smelled like mildew. It was very strange.
That's a pair.
Yeah.
Mildew
That's
and
awesome.
moss. Kind of like Bert and Ernie,
Yeah.
only stinky.
That is something we need to look into.
Yeah,
David
you
Sandler needs an action
You
figure.
said to be, your version could smell like rotting flesh.
True, yeah, rotting.
It'll probably still smell like moss.
Yeah, if they just put like a little chicken meat on the figure of Jerry
Mm-hmm.
and then ship it out, I think by the time you get it, it would probably be spoiled.
Yeah.
I like this plan.
Yeah, this would be extremely authentic zombie action figure.
Mhm.
That's one to keep in the box.
Yeah. Which my friend Andy that I spoke of earlier, who was the stunt coordinator for The Walking Dead, he has an action figure of himself. He was that zombie that hung from the ceiling by his intestines, and so it was really cool to see that he has an action figure of himself.
That is pretty wild. Well, we want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You as well. I look forward to hearing it. Hearing all my ums and uhs and podcasts are always. I'm very conscious of the way I speak, and I think it's.
You're a director. It's fine.
I've been directing myself this whole time.
Well, you've done a fine job.
Thank you. And this has been very pleasant.
Yeah, it's been a good time, and hopefully we'll talk to you again sometime.
Of course.
Yeah,
Unless you get too big for us. What was
I
that?
can't thank you guys enough for having me on. And like so pleasant. It's going to come out September 29th.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah. Thanks for giving us a decent zombie movie.
Oh, thank you for
Good
watching
zombie
it.
movie, I should say.
Yeah, and
Awesome,
you can even go back in the archives. I was talking about the movie, not just because you were on, but I talked about it previous weeks. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, can't thank you enough. Which, I look forward to hearing it. And, stay in touch, guys.
Excellent.
Great.
Thanks.
All right.
Hey, this is Alan Troutman, and you are listening to WithoutYourHead.com. I don't know how you can listen without your head, but there you are.